Should schools be required to report when they have a positive COVID-19 case? Yeah, you can vote right now at 12news.com/bullhorn. So we're asking this morning because many Arizona students could be heading back to class in just a few weeks. Governor Ducey ordered schools to hold off on all in-person classes until August 17th. But that's less than a month away now. So with the state's surge in cases, a lot of parents and educators are concerned about what will happen when kids head back to class. So you can imagine how tough it's going to be to keep all those little kids 6 feet apart. But then what happens when someone in school tests positive? So schools are not required to report to the county when they have a positive case. Dr. Rebecca Sonnenschein, the medical director for Maricopa County, says anyone who tests positive should be isolated. To help with that, the county is giving out PPE starter kits to almost 1,500 schools that requested them. But at what point would the county then consider shutting down schools?
It depends on the percent of students that are absent, the percent of students that are having symptoms, what type of exposure there was, and what community transmission looks like.
So Arizona School Superintendent Kathy Hoffman says schools reopening should be based on public health data, like a downward trend in new cases and more testing with timely results. Governor Ducey did say an announcement about schools is expected this week, so stay with us for the latest on that. In the meantime, what do you think? Do you think schools should be required to report when they have a positive COVID-19 test? Let's take a look. I think earlier we had more than 90% of you guys. Yeah, 94% saying yes. Jennifer says they can report the case. It violates HIPAA if they say who it is.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Crystal says all schools and businesses as well, she says, should be required. And then Tara says, yes, of course. If we were to quarantine, if exposed to someone that has COVID, why should schools of all places not report and comply? If kids start spreading it at home, at work, you have an elderly parent, we've been social distancing to prevent the spread, they better report a positive case, Tara says this morning. Yeah, 94% of you are agreeing with her on that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
You have to. I mean, like, how do you keep everyone else safe and in the know, especially with some people who live with grandparents or some people who see their grandparents or friends or family?
For sure.
To contain the spread, we have to tell each other about who's sick and who's not.
In simplest terms, when a kid in a classroom, we both have littles, get lice, believe me, it goes out to the whole grade. So it's helpful information for families to know when it's something that will spread, stomach flu, different things like that. Right. So unfortunately, it may have to end up being kind of in that category of just informing the other families. At bare minimum. Well, with new information coming out each day, we know it can be tough to keep up. You can find the latest details about the coronavirus and how it's affecting Arizona on the 12 News app.
Let's get you up to speed.